Dear students, welcome to the e-content lecture series on environmental sciences. Today we will discuss global warming. Global warming refers to the increase in the average temperature of the atmosphere, oceans and land masses. It is one of the greatest crises faced by mankind. Well, this problem is not only global in nature but potentially threatens the survival of life on Earth. The Earth's atmosphere acts as a greenhouse, wherein the shorter wavelength solar radiations of higher energy reach onto the Earth. Some of these radiations are reflected back by the atmosphere, but about half reach the Earth's surface, thereby heating it. And in response, the longer wavelength infrared radiations, also called as heat radiations, are radiated back. Most of these radiations, instead of being radiated back 100%, are retained by the atmospheric greenhouse gases. The greenhouse gases include carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, hydrochlorofluorocarbon and chlorofluorocarbons. The greenhouse gases absorb infrared radiations emitted by the Earth's surface, atmosphere and clouds. These gases in turn emit radiations in all directions. Thus, they trap heat within the atmosphere. This phenomena is termed as greenhouse effect. The greenhouse effect is responsible for maintaining the Earth's temperature at an average of 14 degrees Celsius. Without this effect, the Earth's temperature would have been minus 18 degrees Celsius. Today, the major area of concern is the increasing anthropogenic interferences that has disturbed energy budget of the Earth. The problem is not only of the gradual warming of atmosphere via enhanced greenhouse effect, but also due to the fact that greenhouse gases have long residence time in atmosphere, which envisages that despite the possibility that their emissions can be controlled, they could remain suspended in the atmosphere over a prolonged period of time. Now, the plausible causes of global warming. First of all, natural causes. According to skeptics, global warming is not human-induced. To them, it's natural on geological time scale. Many reasons have been put forth to support this view. First, the Milankovitch theory, which suggests that it's the normal cyclic variation in the Earth's orbital characteristic that is probably responsible for present climate change. The insolation from the Sun varies with three cyclic events known as eccentricity, secondly, Earth's rotation on its polar axis, and lastly, obliquity. Then, the Earth's natural cycle theory. Over the last few million years, the Earth's surface temperature has undergone natural fluctuations, expressed as ice ages. During a glacial period, the soil of Earth are fertilized by the ground-up mineral matter, so that at the beginning of interglacial period, the soil is fertile enough to support all plant life. That results in low carbon dioxide level. But towards the end of interglacial period, all trees and plants die off. As the mineral nutrients in soil are exhausted, the vegetation recedes. Less carbon dioxide is removed from the atmosphere, therefore its concentration in atmosphere increases. Immediate result of this increased concentration is the enhanced greenhouse effect. According to them, keeping in view the historic trend, the present global warming will trigger a new ice age. Lastly, changes in solar activity. The output of energy from Sun is much more variable than expected. The Sun's energy received at the top of Earth's atmosphere has been measured by satellites since 1978. Measurements made during 1980s showed a decrease of 0.1% in the total insolation received by the Earth over just 18 months' time. During this period, a maximum sunspot activity was observed, which led to decrease in solar activity. Now, global warming as a result of anthropogenic pressures. The alarmists are of the view that global warming is as a result of following factors. Firstly, changes in land use patterns. Different types of surfaces have different albedos or reflectivities. Deforestation and unsustainable urbanization has increased the albedo of Earth by approximately 0.006 over the last 1,000 years, leading to a change in radiative forcing by about 0.01 watts per meter square per decade. Then, increased emission of greenhouse gases. The increase in carbon dioxide level is almost 40% since pre-industrial times. The natural sources of methane have been intensified further by human activities. The concentration of methane is now more than 2.5 times the pre-industrial levels. Concentration of nitrous oxide has risen approximately 18% since the start of the Industrial Revolution. Also, tropospheric ozone, which has a short atmospheric lifetime, is a potent greenhouse gas. The chlorofluorocarbons not only destroy the stratospheric ozone but also contribute 15 to 25% to global warming. Also, chlorofluorocarbons, that is CFCs, hydrochlorofluorocarbons, that is HCFCs, hydrofluorocarbons, perfluorocarbons, and sulfur hexafluoride are together called F-gases. These are often used in coolants, foaming agents, fire extinguishers, solvents, pesticides, and aerosol propellants. These F-gases have a long atmospheric lifetime, and some of these emissions will affect the climate for many decades or centuries. Effects of global warming. Today, global warming is fast catching our imagination, and its effects are on every aspect of life. However, these effects are more severe than ever thought before. The first and foremost effect is the melting of glaciers. It will lead to rise in the sea level, which will lead to flooding, and this will in turn create havoc, as it will endanger several species of plants and animals, thus hampering the balance of the ecosystem. Moreover, these large glaciers reflect light back into the space, and with their meltdown, Earth will further be warmed. Rise in sea level. Coastal areas and islands are among the most densely inhabited areas in the world. Their proximity with sea makes them more prone to adverse effects of rising sea level, such as loss of land due to inundation, flooding, erosion, saltwater intrusion, and loss of fisheries and aquaculture. The IPCC projects that global warming causes thermal expansion of water, which will be the main component of expected sea level rise in the 21st century. Loss of biodiversity. Extinction of species due to global warming may either be due to loss of habitat, inability of organisms to adapt to rapid climate change, and lastly, climate change harbors pathogens against which organisms have no immunity. For instance, global warming has boosted fungal epidemic in midwife toads, Alites obstetricans of Spain, and harlequin frog species Atelopus of Costa Rica. The chytrid fungus Batrachochytrium dendrobatidis is a fatal pathogen of amphibians that interferes with their ability to control water loss. Coral bleaching. Warmer sea surface temperatures lead to coral bleaching, which is whitening of coral caused when it expels a single-celled symbiotic algae called zooxanthellae. These are expelled when the coral is under stress from environmental factors such as abnormally high water temperatures or pollution. Since the zooxanthellae help coral in nutrient production, their loss can affect coral growth and make them more vulnerable to diseases. Major bleaching events took place on Giant Barrier Reef in 1998 and 2002, causing a significant die-off of corals in some locations. Ocean acidification. The oceans serve as a sink of carbon dioxide, but increased level of it has led to ocean acidification. As carbon dioxide dissolves in seawater, carbonic acid is formed, which has the effect of acidifying the ocean, measured as a change in pH. The uptake of carbon emissions since the year 1750 has led to an average decrease in pH by 0.1 units. Projections in the special report on emission scenario by IPCC suggests a further reduction in the average global surface ocean pH of between 0.14 and 0.35 units over the 21st century. Diseases. Distribution of pathogens was earlier restricted due to seasonal temperature variations, but rise in the temperature and increased moisture has resulted in their extended distribution, leading to higher rates of infection. The major reasons for such outbreak is the warmer temperature provides conducive habitats for disease-causing mosquitoes, thus causing increase in transmission of infections via these carriers. World Health Organization estimated that the total attributable mortality was about 0.2% of deaths in 2004. Of these, 85% were child death. Increase in extreme events. A connection has been found between global warming and changes in the intensity, frequency, and the extent of disturbances such as fire, cyclones, drought, and floods. For instance, the hurricane frequency in Western Atlantic has increased to 3% since 1970. The hurricanes belonging to category 4 and 5 on Saffir-Simpson scale are frequently occurring from the last 30 years, according to IPCC 4th Assessment Report. Also, El Niños are occurring after a period of 2 years due to global warming instead of a normal gap of 4 to 5 years. Despite the fact that global warming has adverse impacts, some researchers argue that increase in carbon dioxide level will have benefits that would outweigh any of its harmful effects. As we know, carbon dioxide is an essential raw material for all primary producers. The rise in carbon dioxide availability directly impacts photosynthetic processes in plants, evoking a wide range of physiological and morphological responses. Some scientists are of the opinion that doubling the concentration of carbon dioxide would increase plant productivity by 1/3. Due to these benefits, commercial nurseries use carbon dioxide enhanced environments to grow plants. However, the fact remains that plants cannot live on carbon dioxide alone. They get their bulk from more solid substances like water and organic matter. Also, soil conditions will not necessarily favor their growth even at optimum temperatures. Too high concentration of carbon dioxide causes a reduction in the nutritional quality of some crops. Researchers have found that the rising temperatures may boost the foraging by insects. The worst problem by far is that increasing carbon dioxide will increase temperature throughout the earth. This will make deserts and other types of dry lands. While deserts increase in size, other ecozones, whether tropical, forest or grassland, will migrate towards the poles. Strategies to combat global warming. All the nations face the risk of global warming. although some might face catastrophic losses before others. In order to counteract the potential of massive risk, three basic strategies have been put forth. First, the waiting strategy, which envisages that before taking any substantive measures to combat warming, we should wait, since all the data is not yet in. However, such an approach of taking no action at all would be unacceptable risk, as it might be found that the problem is real. The steps that would be taken for its mitigation then would be costly and painful than the measures that could be taken at the earlier stages. The worst case scenario strategy says that we should assume that the most extreme predictions are valid and act accordingly. This encompasses taking every possible step like decreasing fossil fuel burning, halting deforestation, encouraging reforestation, etc. The compromise strategy says that we should follow a path that is environmentally safe and promotes general well-being. It advocates a middle-of-the-road approach. The focus of it is to develop policies, increase conservation, raise energy efficiency, hamper use of fossil fuels, and lay more stress on sustainable use of renewable resources. One way to discourage use of fossil fuel is to impose carbon tax on their consumption. A carbon tax is levied in proportion to the amount of carbon emitted during consumption of the fuel. Such a tax will encourage development of non-carbon emitting technology. Another suggestion is to institute a standardized system of emission permits, both at a national and global level, that would allow organizations to emit certain amount of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Lastly, controlling deforestation will not only abate greenhouse effect via providing sinks that absorb carbon dioxide, but will also preserve biodiversity, ameliorate climate extremes, and help to protect soil. Hence, it can be concluded that even though there is less scientific and political consensus concerning the severity of the threats of global warming, still, in case of greenhouse gas emission, every contribution towards the ultimate solution counts, as the beauty of all actions taken will offer numerous other benefits. This is a classical example of win-win strategy. That is all we have for you in today's session. Thank you for watching.